gave me that gift of, wanting to help people. But if I don't give it to him and ask him how I should apply it, and I'm out here deciding for myself how it should be applied, look at the result.
Yeah.
I was sick. That doesn't make any sense. So, but what does make sense is, well, God is the author and finisher of everything, and He is in control. So, why didn't I give that to Him first
Mm-hmm.
and say, how far should I go with this?
I'm Ashley White, the host of Joy on the Journey podcast, a weekly podcast all about defining, finding, and maintaining joy on the journey of life. Y'all, I have promised transparent and vulnerable conversations about the journey of joy. And this week's guest, y'all, I have been excited ever since she said yes. This is Carol Guest. She is a seasoned lawyer who has represented individuals and businesses with passion and professionalism. She's previously served as the chair of the board of the Greater Houston Black Chamber of Commerce. She's a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and y'all, I am so honored to have her on the podcast. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for having me.
I am, yeah, we just got to get into it because I will start fangirling. We met on a panel of women entrepreneurs at Willard Avenue Baptist Church
Yes.
Financial Empowerment Ministry, and she blew us away with her wisdom, with her insight, and most importantly, with her faith in the strength of her prayer life. And so I know that she is going to impart so many nuggets. So go ahead and sit down, get comfortable, because we're gonna have us some good conversation and walk away encouraged and made the better. And while you're there, have you subscribed to the podcast? Yes, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and click on your notification bell. So Carol, this podcast is all about defining, finding, and maintaining joy on the journey of life. So, what would you say your definition of joy is?
I would say that my definition of joy is maintaining your sanity along the way.
Mm.
And the reason I say that is because life throws you curves left and right. You never know what's going to happen. And there are lots of opportunities to just get discouraged. And then once discouragement kind of settles in, you can become non-responsive to life, just nonchalant, like, oh, I don't care. I'm just going to sit here and let life happen to me. And to me, that's insanity,
Mm.
because we have to be in the state of mind where we can be proactive if we want to have a joyful life. And so maybe I can back up a little bit and say the basis of joy to me is sanity, maintaining sanity on the journey, because then there's always the opportunity to build from that
Mm-hmm.
and to get to the point where you're full of this exuberance and happiness and you can wear a smile on your face. But if you can't make the decision that you're going to stay sane first, anticipating that your journey is going to have bumps and hills and ups and downs, you can't ever get to that state of exuberance.
Mm.
So I would start with saying that joy is maintaining sanity along the way and then giving yourself that basis to build from.
Mm. When did it come to you that I can't have anything if I am operating from a unsane or insane mental standpoint?
Um, I would say that came into my understanding probably within the last month or so.
Okay.
Um, you know, I was challenged when you talked to me about what's the definition of joy and just kind of, looking at some of the other guests that have been on your show and listening to what their definition is and how they talk about joy and so forth. I had to really just sit and say, well, really, what is joy to me? I don't want to adopt what other people are saying joy should be, because we're
Mm-hmm.
individuals.
Right.
And I have my own definition. So, um I would say that it all came together for me. I would say that maintaining sanity is important within the last month or so, because when I think about the journey that I've been on for the past 25 years, um, I would say that I was able to maintain my sanity, and that's why I'm able to be joyful at this point,
Mm-hmm.
because I just wasn't aware of what could possibly come and knock me off my game, make me rethink my relationship with God, and make me think about, does he really care? Is he really there? Why is he allowing these things? And I said, wow, I God kept me. He kept my mind. I maintained sanity through all of that. And so
Mm-hmm.
because of that, I can be joyful.
Yeah. I think that's so important as well because our thoughts can consume us. What we're
Absolutely.
focused on,
Yes.
what we they say, perception is reality.
Yes.
And so what we then see then feeds into how we act, how we respond, what we
Yes.
believe, what we
Absolutely.
then do.
Yes.
And so if our minds aren't on something foundational, aren't on something steady, it's easy to then really, when life gets to rocking, be like, okay, well, I'm going overboard because I can't find myself
Mm-hmm.
on the rocky ocean.
Right. That's absolutely right. And it's different too when you are used to a certain way of living.
Okay.
It's one thing, and I completely understand that scripture in the Bible that says to train your child up in the way he should go, and when he's old, he won't depart from it.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to get your child early to be able to identify their strengths and weaknesses and have them to understand that God is in complete control. Because
Mm-hmm.
when you become an adult and the Lord visits you
Yeah.
to try to get you on that path, that is a very difficult transition.
Mm-hmm.
My life really changed at age 25.
Okay.
And so 25 years of doing things my way and expecting the rest of my life to go that way, very, very difficult, very challenging to then get on the path at that point. So I think it's really important for us to have some perspective in life that things are not going to always go the way you want them to,
Mm-hmm.
and that there are going to be hills and valleys and you know those types of things that can knock you off your game. If you don't come from that reality, then it's difficult when God decides to start growing you up,
Mm.
because he will most definitely throw those curves to make you more spiritually mature. So, I think that my journey to being joyful would have been a lot easier if I had a little bit more perspective about the ups and downs of life. And I think just preparing yourself mentally for that can help you to obtain and maintain joy, so that you're not mad and angry at God when these tough spots show up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that also speaks to our expectation
Absolutely.
of what we think life should be, what we
Yes.
think this experience should turn out. Every business deal should work out perfectly. Every job that I apply for, I of course am the best
Absolutely.
candidate.
Exactly. Exactly.
And yet, when those moments don't turn out right, or
Mm-hmm.
the way we thought they should, or could, or would, it's important that we understand that everything works together for our good. Even those disappointing moments, they
Mm-hmm.
build us up, as you said. They
Right.
stretch our faith. They grow us from being babes in Christ to being prayer warriors and
Yes.
soldiers and
Yes.
knowing the gospel for ourselves.
Yes, absolutely right.
So I want to talk about um, in those moments where you were fighting for and choosing to maintain a healthy mindset, what did you learn then that you possibly could share with someone that is in a place of, this is not what I thought it was going to be?
Oh boy. One of the main things I think is to remove the word I from your language,
Hmm.
because that the point of frustration comes when when you say I thought it would be, and God says it is this way. That's
Ooh.
where the conflict comes in, and that's where your frustration comes from. And if you can get rid of I and get rid of the mentality that your thoughts should prevail, the way you see things happening should prevail, and accept that God is the authority, and that because he is the authority, he decided to send whatever it is or allow whatever it is that's causing you this frustration. Once you can get past that, I mean, that's like three-fourths of the battle. One, where you can get out of this place of frustration and, being upset and, being consumed by thoughts, as you said, of why is this happening or why didn't I get this or that. It's because you're not in control of it. And as long as you can, when you can make that determination, there's freedom in that.
Oh, that is so good. So good because so many of us, and I'll speak up for myself, struggle with control.
Oh.
We struggle with me. I'm not going to say we. Y'all do y'all do me. I I struggle with control.
Mm.
And what you just described though is the serenity of surrender.
Yes. That's a beautiful way to put it.
There's a sweetness in
Mm-hmm.
God, your will is what's best for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There is sweet serenity in that, because once you can accept that, there's just a calmness that comes, and that peace of God, you know, and you get to a point where you say to yourself, well, at least I did. I might as well just let it go. I just might as well let it go because I keep knocking up against him, and he's not going to give.
Mm-hmm.
He is not going to give.
Yeah.
He's waiting for you to give, but he's not going to give.
Yeah.
So, yes, sweet serenity, that's the goal.
That's good. That's good. So let's hop into your journey. You have led or had and continue to have a prestigious career that has taken many different turns. But I would like to start at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
When did you realize that you had a passion for law and wanted to become an attorney?
Well, I would say I realized that law was for me when I was in college.
Okay.
Because when I look back, even in elementary school, I would run for things. I ran for the office of judge, and it was like political science, like mock things to get us into the political process and teach that sort of thing. I ran for that, and then when I was in middle school, I was an officer, like our little student council, and I was on student council in high school, and I was in student government in college, and I was always into politics. And once it was time to go to the next level after college, I started thinking, like, what am I interested in? Where's my passion? And it's in politics. And so I thought, well, I want to be a civil rights lawyer. And so law school seemed to fit me. Now, I will say this, though. I always liked business.
Okay.
Always. My dad tells this story of my dad used to be a concert promoter. So he had lots of lives as well. Yes, my dad used to be in a singing group. He was signed to Columbia Records. He was like all these other things. And that, I think that explains my interest in the entertainment business. Okay. But he came home one night after a concert, and he said he walked into my room and I was asleep, and I don't know how old I was, maybe 12 or 11 or something like that. And he said he tossed up, he said he threw money on me from whatever they made that night. And he said I woke up and went, oh, just doing the money like that. And I started laughing because I said, I have always had an interest in business, like always. And, my parents raised us to be humble people, not mercenary, in any way, definitely looking at money as a tool to be able to help. But when I was in college at that time, it was either business or law. And actually I was scared of business school.
Hmm.
I thought it was too much math. And so I wasn't the best math student. So
Okay.
I said, "Oh, well, I go to law school like that was going to be
I'm.
easier."
Uh,
Yeah, no. That wasn't the case at all. It was not easier. And years later, I applied to business school and saw that law was actually harder.
yes.
Um, but and I just chose not to complete my business studies just because I didn't really feel that it was fitting what God had me doing at in that season,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But I was passionate about fighting for people and being an advocate also. And so as I matriculated through law school, civil rights law just kind of faded away.
Okay.
You know, when I was on campus in college, I was very interested in the black experience because I went to Vanderbilt University, and so that's a predominantly white institution.
Mm-hmm.
We had a protest on campus my freshman year. That's when Tiger Woods was playing golf. He had just entered into that world,
Okay.
and we had a sit-in at my school. They asked us to wear black. I wore my black. I had my backpack on, and I was going to class with my black my black shirt on because we were protesting the way he was being treated.
Mm-hmm.
And one of our trustees was on, I think, the board of directors or something at this golf club where Tiger was being discriminated against and talked about badly. So anyway, that activism, and my family's always been active in the community, and we've always been activists, as far as the black experience is concerned. And so that passion for advocacy is where that's where it came from. And then in college I made that choice.
Wow. 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 And share with our audience where you finished, where you earned your law degree.
I earned my law degree from the Texas Southern University Thurgood Marshall School of Law.
Very good. Very, very
Yes.
good. I want to make sure that all those Thurgood folks recognize we're producing amazing, amazing people.
Ah,
Amazing people.
yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And you just spoke about your compassion for community service and
Hmm.
giving back. Why do you feel like that's important?
Well, I think it's important because God gives us skill sets and gifts that we're supposed to share in community and help other people. And I think that if you have something that's worth sharing, you should share it because we're all incomplete people. We all need each other. And so if I have something that can help or benefit someone else, then I should share that with them. They can share it with me, and it makes for a better society. I'm a progressive thinker. I like to do things that will help push things forward.
Mm-hmm.
And let me just break it down in practical terms. Because at the chamber, I had these discussions all the time. When people can eat, have shelter, have a safe place for their family and their kids to go to school, whatever the case may be, and they have jobs that support all of that,
Mm-hmm.
then you don't have to worry about somebody knocking you over the head when you're walking down the street trying to rob you because they're going to have their own stuff. So if I can do something to help prevent that, give that person a better life and give you a better life because you're not in fear of being robbed or raped or something crazy, then why would I not do that?
Mm-hmm.
It makes everybody comfortable when you can give of your gifts and talents and be fair in the process.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're in a position of authority, that's a responsibility too. That's God given, and you should use that authority to make people's lives better, to make their way easier because life is already really difficult at times.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess in my personality and in our upbringing, it just has been reinforced over and over again that we should be a benefit to others to help make their way easier, and that warms my heart. And then if somebody else is giving so that I can achieve more and have a better life, then it all works out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think watching my grandparents, they were very civic minded, serving not only just within the church, which was our foundation, but also serving in the community.
Yes.
So I think that is embodied in us,
Yeah.
but it also, some people think, well, if I give, then what do I have for myself? And so I do want to ask, as someone with a servant heart,
Mm-hmm.
in which pouring out sometimes just comes natural.
Yes.
How do you replenish, or how have you found ways to replenish that which you pour out?
Well, first of all, I have to say that God has had to stop me several times
Hmm.
because I was overdoing it to the point where I was depleting myself. And you would think, that's counterintuitive. Well, God gave you this gift of being able to help people, so you should do it to the fullest. Well, there has to be harmony.
Mm.
I was listening to someone, they said balance is not possible. You should be looking for harmony. And I said, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so God has had to stop me on several occasions and said to me, you need to take a nap or sit down,
Mm-hmm.
take some days off, get a massage. So he's had to arrest me. And then I was giving so much that I've gotten sick a few times.
Mm.
And finally he just said, look, you've got to get yourself in a space where taking care of yourself is important. I was so passionate about what I was doing, that I feel like it was a drug almost
Mm.
because I loved it so much. But the see, this goes back to I think how God, how he is. He will let you get to a point. You really have to harmonize all of these things in light of what God's call is on your life and what he wants, what he really is calling you to do. Because he gave me that gift of, wanting to help people. But if I don't give it to him and ask him how I should apply it, and I'm out here deciding for myself how it should be applied, look at the result.
Yeah.
I was sick. That doesn't make any sense. So, but what does make sense is, well, God is the author and finisher of everything, and he is in control. So why didn't I give that to him first
Mm-hmm.
and say, how far should I go with this? So getting sick made me have to recognize, oh, wait a minute. Well, yeah, maybe I should have asked God first.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I should have given the gift back to him and said, how should I apply this? So him waking me up, that was one way. And so now I get massages every month. I tell people no in a nice way.
Yes.
And, I schedule my days better such that I can, at the end of the day, be able to sit down and maybe, read the Bible or pray or, just relax
Mm-hmm.
so that I can be ready for the next day. Because I understand now how necessary rest is
Mm-hmm.
in order to execute whatever the portion God has for me is for the next day. I recognize that we can only give out portions of ourselves and be effective.
Mm.
Not overdoing, not showing up every time. That is not what God called us. He called us to a portion. That's why we have days. We have nightfall and day. That's a portion. We don't get 7 days in one day.
Yeah.
We get a portion.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to train me. I had to learn the hard way.
Yeah. Ah, that is so good, and it's such a good lesson and perspective, and immediately applicable. As you said, God has given each of us talents and treasure, but we also have to consult God on how he wants us to best utilize our gifts and talents so that
Yes.
we are honoring him and bringing glory to his name, because
Yes.
sometimes we can treat our gifts as our gifts, and then we also want the glory for how we're using
Mm.
our gifts.
Well, yes, indeed.
But when you consult God, when you are asking, okay, Lord, you gave this to me, but how can I serve your church? How can I serve your community? How can I serve myself?
Hmm.
Because I am also a part of that community. How am
That's
I
true.
serving me and treating me well
Yes.
so that I can do the work that you have tasked, the purpose that you've created
Hmm.
me for? Oh, that's so good.
I've
So,
had to
so
just
good.
really, and I think this is likely common to everyone who's trying to develop their relationship with God, is to be less me centric
Mm-hmm.
and I centric. And it's really kind of difficult living in the United States and fighting that mentality,
Mm-hmm.
because we get so bombarded with marketing that encourages being me centric.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this product is going to change your life, or this new workout thing, or this whatever. It's like the church of me, and we have to work against that, in growing in our relationship with God. So it's always a challenge.
Oh, that is so, so good. As I mentioned earlier, we met on a panel of African American women entrepreneurs. And first of all, didn't feel like I belonged there. But I was blown away because, listen, we're going to talk about imposter syndrome, but it's real. I was blown away by your wisdom and your faith journey. And I wonder if you've ever had moments where your faith wavered in all that God has called you to do.
Well, yes. um I have experienced imposter syndrome, definitely. And there were times, especially when I was practicing in the entertainment business. Most of my clients were from a music, they were music focused. And so I would feel, now I knew God had charted my path to go through the entertainment business, but there was so much that I felt like I didn't know. But he gave me such excellent mentors.
Mm.
And that was the saving grace. That's how God does us. You have to step out in faith on what he says to do, and then he'll come and supply all the everything you need to succeed at that level, whatever it
Mm.
is. So,
Oh, that's good.
but that's the only way we can make it. You know what I mean? It's like God asks a lot of us.
Hmm.
I mean, honestly, that's what I think. He asks a lot. Like, Jesus made the ultimate sacrifice, so nobody has been asked to do more than he did.
Right.
And I'm certainly not going there. But, as a human being, we think that we can't do it.
Hmm.
Like we don't have it in us to do. But every time he's asked me to do something that I felt inadequate about, after I have asked him to help me muster up the emotional and whatever it is emotionally that I
Hmm.
need, or the faith to go ahead and take the step, he has come behind it with all the support.
Mm.
And I've just noticed that's what he does.
Oh, that's so good. And I want thank you for that. Thank you for that, for the reassurance and for the encouragement that you have to take the first step, though.
You have to.
And then trust that with that step, God is ordering it.
Yes.
He has purposed it, and He will hold you up, even in those moments where it's like, look, I'm on, yeah, okay, Ugh, I'm out here. I'm out. I have taken the step. Now what,
Mm-hmm.
Lord?
Mm-hmm.
But again,
Now what?
going back and counseling and consulting with God, okay, I will do,
Mm-hmm.
but please, please go before me, go behind me,
Mm-hmm.
hold me up, Lord.
Please.
Because if left to my own devices, I'm out of here.
Totally and completely out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I can identify with you concerning that 100%. I mean, and it's not, when you were saying the back and forth, that step of faith can be like that until you just go ahead and
Mm-hmm.
step in. So, no one's perfect. None of us are perfect with that. It's just when you get to the point where you can feel confident in taking the step. And then I've just noticed he'll come behind it. And sometimes that help doesn't come right away,
Mm.
which is still like a test of faith because you're like, well, Lord, you
You had
gonna
you
help
had
me?
you had said, okay. Now
Right,
now was the time.
right. And I did it. And so, where's my help? You know?
Call him in, Lord. Now
Exactly.
was the time.
Exactly. And then, in moments like that, I'm realizing now as I'm talking about it that I just would stand still
Mm.
because I wouldn't want to move to the right or move to the left because I'd be scared. And I'd be like, okay, Lord, I took the step. Now I'm waiting on your help because I'm out here. And then all of a sudden it shows up. So,
Thank you, thank you, thank you. There have been so many organizations that you have supported and continue to support. One of them that you mentioned earlier is the Chamber,
mm-hmm.
which you served previously as the interim president and then as a board chair. These are great leadership roles where you are leading a large body of people, entrepreneurs, leaders. What did those roles require of you?
Okay. Well, first of all, um, I served as chair and then interim president. And so, um, what was required? Well, first of all, there are two different roles.
Mm-hmm.
So, being chair of a board of a nonprofit organization, your role is to really kind of help to steer the ship with other board members. Help them to set a vision and a mission for the organization, and talk with them about other things that keep the organization afloat. Um, as the interim president, and CEO of any nonprofit organization, your job is to execute the mission and vision of the board.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever they have said, it's going to be that it's your job to execute it. And so I was, as chair, I was tasked with, and it was interesting. Both of those were assignments.
Mm.
They were divine assignments. And one of the things that I can say about my life is that ever since God really came in, I mean, he tried to get me in college. I mean, I've been saved since I was a little girl, but as far as walking, saved
Mm.
and walking, that didn't happen until after law school
Okay.
because I was never wild. I wouldn't have, I was always kind of old for my age and stuff. So I wasn't, ever out there in the streets or anything like that, but I didn't have I was in control.
Okay.
Like I didn't believe God was really in control. I didn't get it didn't even occur to me
Mm.
that he would be in control of me.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that on a daily basis I made the decisions. So when he came, really entered into my life and was like, look, I'm God and I have A, B, C, and D for you to do. Um, from that point on, I basically lived my life according to whatever his plan was for that day.
Mm.
And so, getting the call to serve on the board, um, to apply and all of that was a move of the Holy Spirit. And then serving as chair, my even considering that was a move of God saying you should put your name in the hat for it because I wasn't checking for it at all. I
Mm.
thought I was going to finish out my term as a board member and move on. I knew I would still be affiliated, but I didn't know how. But it certainly wasn't as chair. I wasn't thinking about that at all. Um, but as God would have it, it was His plan, and the board members eventually elected me to that role. And then when it was time for me to, move on to the next position as interim chair, that was also, I mean, interim president, that was also something that God put on my heart, and I discussed with the board because there were things that we wanted to revamp internally,
Mm-hmm.
and the situation fit at the time for me to serve in that role. So all the different things that were called for is interesting the way God put all of this together, because I know that for future reference, I'm going to be using the skill sets that I learned there. You have to, understand how to meet their needs as well and speak their language, because you're trying to get them to support your organization and convince them that what you're doing is important.
Mm-hmm.
So the God put me in those roles, and I can say that I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity to serve, because I was able to really work on behalf of black businesses and advocate for them, and recognize that, we may need training in this area. We may need to, help the businesses better understand how to make profit, because really business ownership is a wealth builder. It's a vehicle where wealth can be built, and
Mm-hmm.
I took that very seriously. One of the things that I talked about with the board was about wealth building in our community, so that we could have generational wealth,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of our issues have to do with economics.
Right.
And so why not utilize the chamber as a vehicle for that type of change in the community? And so and that was the path that we were on when I was in leadership, was looking at utilizing entrepreneurship to create wealth in the community. And then we had, corporate sponsors that believed in that as well. And it happened during George Floyd. It happened
Mm-hmm.
during COVID. Somebody was talking to me about that, and one day, recently, they said, "You were the chair during COVID." I said, "I was." I just thought about that. They were like, "Girl," and I was thinking to myself, "Nobody but the Lord."
Yeah.
It was, I mean, it's kind of like a passing conversation, and they
Mm-hmm.
went on. But when I was by myself, I said, "There's no way that there's no way
Mm-hmm.
there was no way that I could have performed that work without God's leading and His favor,
Mm-hmm.
because that was a difficult time."
Oh, wow. Wow. Thank you for sharing. As we talk about those roles, and they were time allotted roles, with that then comes the transition.
Hmm.
For some people, when they're transitioning from one space or one season, one position, there's a bit of grieving.
Yes.
What what has helped you as you transition gracefully to the next group of to the next chair and board members, as well as to the next president of the chamber? What has helped you transition gracefully?
Well, for again, leaning on God and knowing, listening to His voice, accepting that the change was coming,
Mm.
because He had started to speak to me about the change months before it actually happened. I just didn't know when,
Okay.
the exact date and time. I didn't know that, but I knew that it was coming. And so, and I thank God, because He will do that for us,
Mm-hmm.
get us ready and prepared when it's time to transition or separate from something. So my mind was kind of already in that mode. So that's one thing. And then when you are so invested in something, because that was a passion for me.
Mm-hmm.
It was when I actually, after I stepped down, the weeks that followed were somewhat surreal, because I wasn't active every day. Like, those positions are all day, every day,
Mm-hmm.
like almost 24/7, unless you can turn it off. And if you love it, again, like I said, you'll be, that'll be the only thing that you're focused on for the
Mm-hmm.
most part. So I had to be honest about how I was feeling. I had to be honest with myself, and say, this is sad for me,
Mm-hmm.
that it felt like a loss,
Yeah.
because I loved the work so much. And once I allowed myself to be honest with myself about that, this was actually a loss, and I was, somewhat upset about it, not to the point that it was debilitating, but that I actually had
Mm-hmm.
some grief behind it, then I was able to just start working it out. Like I would talk to friends about it, but I wouldn't let myself wallow.
Okay.
No, because that's when it turns into something else,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so I just gave myself grace. And I was telling people, see, originally, this is what God said 6 months. Like I needed 6 months to adjust because going that whole chair to interim president, that was 4 years of
Oh,
nonstop, like every day, because we didn't have a president when I was chair.
wow. Okay.
And so I had to wear both hats.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to keep the chamber going and all that, it needed that leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And so, he said, you need really 6 months. And I was like, oh, 3 months, 90 days, So I got 2 weeks,
Okay.
2 weeks before 6 months is up. And I really had to say, Carol, you are not strong enough emotionally to be back out here hitting it like you have done before the chamber, during the chamber. You're not.
Mm-hmm.
You're depleted and you need to have a seat. And then that 4 years had come behind, I guess, 22 years of hitting it hard with my own business. I mean, and there hadn't been any breaks.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think the whole learning about the self-care, God sitting me down, telling me I needed to, pace myself and all that has helped me to transition from that pace and then get ready for the next thing. And there's joy in that for me because I do like to be active. I do like to help make a difference. I do like to be in the community doing things. And so I could look forward to that. But it required me to have a seat so that I could refuel and recharge in order to do the next assignment. Because God is not going to let you sit down for too long.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be hurting myself if I did not have a seat and accept that He closed that door.
Mm-hmm.
Let that go. Matter of fact, if we don't let go, we're going to get hurt by it.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that. I knew enough to know in my spiritual walk, when God closes the door, you need to let it stay closed.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to turn, do your crying, do your whatever you have to do to be all right with that decision that He made to make the change. And He understands that. That's why He told me 6 months. I didn't know it was going to really take that. I tried to do it in 3, but no, I needed 6.
Yeah.
So I think definitely being patient with myself, recognizing that I'm not, and we're not, as human beings, these people that folks try to portray on TV like you're supposed to bounce back from everything right away.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what human beings can do.
Right.
So I accepted that, and I feel a whole lot better now. Thank God. And I'm going to use my 2 weeks. And, but I feel Him getting me ready. I started feeling that a few weeks ago for the transition into the next after this 6 months is up.
So this transitions us perfectly to the final segment of the podcast. And thank you so much for sharing about the process of releasing, but also knowing that before we can run to the next, if we don't take in everything that the previous season taught us, the good,
That's
and
it.
appreciating the good things of that last season.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we just run.
Yes, we do.
And we don't sit in, oh, that was really good. God, you allowed me to do this, and that. I learned this, and that, and now I'm even more empowered for whatever the next is.
Right.
So as we transition to the final segment, which is the journey ahead, as you are praying and seeking God for His favor and His divine guidance, would you dare share your hope for yourself, for your business, for the next 5 years?
Wow, 5 years. You know what? I think this might be the first time, actually, Ashley, that I could say what 5 years would look like.
Hmm.
Because God, when He snatched me
Mm-hmm.
in, after law school, He was so in control. I had to deal with Him on a daily basis. So I couldn't think past. I wanted to and I tried. I tried to do 5 year plans and all that. None of that worked. He just blew all that up. Like none of it worked. But now I think I've grown enough spiritually for Him to trust me with being able to see 5 years down the road. And I don't see everything perfectly clear. I
Mm-hmm.
just have an idea. So, number one, the first thing that He brought to the forefront to me maybe a couple weeks ago was that now is, well, I've looked at everything from a ministry perspective because I am a licensed minister. Like I didn't know that was coming. Okay, I'm a marketplace minister, and so it's important for me to have all these marketplace experiences. Business, law, and politics, that's
Mm-hmm.
essentially what God has put together for me, and that's what I'm going to be operating in. And nonprofit now, the nonprofit
Mm-hmm.
sector, so which is part of business too. So what I see happening, um, I see God utilizing all of those skills that I have amassed, including the entertainment business, together. So I feel like what I see is something in leadership under the guise of ministry,
Mm.
where whatever I'm doing, it ties back into that. That ministry piece would be more pronounced going forward
Mm-hmm.
and going to be guided by whatever it is. Um, so I see, I like, right, I definitely see myself going back even more into the entertainment business.
Okay.
Not as a lawyer, but as a business person.
Mm.
There's someone I'm working with now who is pulling me back. He's pulling me back. He's pulling me back in. And I'm happy about it. I'm more mature now and I know what I'm doing. I
Mm.
feel I learned, but I feel more confident now. So I see that. I see a nonprofit work. Um, and I also see more business as I am continue to work with our family business. As an attorney, I'm the attorney for our commercial real estate business, and just kind of growing that, and also helping other people develop wealth strategies
Mm.
to help, again, that whole thing about empowering our community. And generational wealth, yes. But I had lunch with someone recently who said, I'm interested in transformative wealth.
Ooh.
And I said, yes. Transformative wealth is that's what we need in our community, is transformative wealth, where we can address, all of the issues that come with
Mm-hmm.
poverty, you know. So I see myself, being engaged in that endeavor too. So again, like I said, I don't see specifics, but I have kind of an idea of the areas that God is going to have me working in.
Oh, that's good. That's good and needed. And needed. And you're called in purpose to do so. So, how could someone get in touch with you if they were looking to start a nonprofit, interested in, hey, or I've been called to lead a nonprofit, and they're like, hey, how can I do this well? How can I do this well? How can someone get in touch with you if they're seeking opportunity?
Well, let's see. Um, you can email me. That's one way. Um, my email address is carol@guestgroup.net. It's Carol, Carol, at Guest Group, which is Guess. That's my last name, Guest Group, Group.net. That's my email. Office is 713-660-7003. That's my office number. So those are probably the best ways to get in touch with me, and I'm happy to do it. I'm working as vice chair for the Texas Association of African American Chambers of Commerce now, and it's a statewide organization that does essentially the same thing as at the local level. So I'm always interested in talking to people about how to start a chamber, any nonprofit work. I'm just open. open and available to talk. So
Thank you so much. Y'all, I know this has blessed me and I hope that it has blessed you as well. Please drop in the comments your favorite takeaway from today, the importance of rest to allow God to replenish you as you are serving and doing the things that God has called you to do. Until we meet again every single Thursday, may God increase your joy, give you strength for the journey, and give you the courage to tell your story. Bye, friends.